All right, remember, Dr. Chishti is already 80 years old, not keeping too well, in the twilight of his life, and he's waited 19 years to just get the judicial system in India to move. Is it now in the interest of humanity to allow him to go back home? Joining us tonight from Toronto, his daughter Amna Chishti. Also with us on the program, Mahesh Bhatt. He's been one of the most outspoken voices on this case, campaigning for a more humane intervention in Dr. Chishti's case. Amna, if I can start with you tonight. I know this must have been a very difficult period for you, but there are people here who would say your father was accused of murder, that is no trivial charge. You have been ceaselessly campaigning for him to come back home. What would you say to those people?
Well, first of all, I would like to thank you for bringing my father's case to the forefront. And secondly, to all those people who are saying that he's been convicted, all I would say that we as his family have always believed and maintained that he was falsely charged. His case is merely being at the wrong place at the wrong time. So we firmly believe that he was falsely implicated, and even then he had to wait for 19 years for justice, and the case did not move until I started writing letters and an inquiry was sent to the lower court to deliver a judgment. So I don't see that it makes sense to award a 14-year-old life sentence to an 80-year-old man who's already suffered for 19 years. Even though he was out on bail, he could not go back.
That's right. He spent 18 years.
He's missed out on his life.
Yeah, that's right. He did actually spend 18 years out on bail, but never tried to skip his bail. Even the police in Rajasthan actually speak about that. Amna, how have you been able to maintain contact with your father all these years, if at all?
We would visit him from time to time, and sometimes the relations between the two countries were good. So the visa process was very easy, but sometimes it would be difficult. And we had contact with him over the phone. But on his part, he could not travel or he could not come to weddings, to anything. So he has been essentially a prisoner there, even though he had bail. But we tried to visit him whenever we could.
Mahesh Bhatt, what do you believe is the real issue at the heart of this story? Is it the story of an individual who's got trapped in the larger politics of the India and Pakistan dynamic? Or is it a story that underlines, in a sense, what so many under trials go through in India, whether they're Indian or Pakistani?
I think, Barkha, let us get this straight. If you want enduring peace in the 21st century, between India and Pakistan, we'll have to stop this dehumanization game, which has been going on for the last 63 years. You mentioned the word Pakistani, and everything humane that possibly exists in your heart just evaporates. Same story there. In Pakistan, you mentioned the word Indian, and you see the worst come out of the people, especially in the bureaucracy and who run the establishments. I think this is because we have all been brainwashing the, we have brainwashed our people that the other doesn't deserve your mercy and is almost non-human. So he deserves to be treated in the most brutal way. And this is what's happened. I mean, I was told by a very eminent judge who has been spearheading very silently this entire crusade of hers from behind the scenes, who has had a tremendous track record in the legal system, who said that the charges made against Dr. Chishti were absurd. I mean, somebody said that he's allegedly have used a talwar to knock the victim. And he says, it just doesn't strike me, how can a person who's been a professor and of virology and who has been from the Edinburgh University could possibly use a talwar. So I think that's what happens. In India, you have seen cases of people nabbed, and the moment you add the word Pakistani, or in Pakistan you add the word Indian, and that's it. You can lock the person up and throw away the keys.
Mahesh, at the moment, in fact, there is a judicial team that is travelling to Pakistan to look at the state of Indian prisoners languishing in those jails. And we keep talking about confidence-building measures between the two countries and the release of prisoners. If you want to tell the viewers of this show tonight, who you believe are, in a sense, prejudiced about Pakistan, why Dr. Chishti must be allowed to go back home, what would you say the reason is?
Well, I would say that we have always said that this is a land of sages and seers, and we say this is the land of Buddha and Nanak and Gandhi, and we have always said that compassion and Shama, forgiveness, is the hallmark, is the bedrock on our civilization stands. So I think let that operate now. I would say that ultimately it is the civil society that will fight and win this war. I think the bureaucrats and the political class can only do that much. But I refuse to demonize the other. I think we, in this age and time when we have access to communication, the younger generation can connect with each other more easily than our generation did. They can see and touch and feel each other. And I think the narratives that keep pouring into our homes from the other side make you see that you bleed and cry and dream exactly the way we do here. So I think that will finally demolish the walls. And all those forces who have tried to keep us away will not finally succeed. And I think you're just seeing the beginning of something which is very, very glorious, taking birth here. And I think this was kick-started by the Supreme Court of India. It was the Supreme Court of India who made who made an unheld back appeal to the establishment of Pakistan and said, look, we have no jurisdiction in Pakistan, but let Gopal Das go, and pleaded to the establishment. And thank God that the establishment of Pakistan, just before the Mohali test, responded with such urgency, and Gopal Das walked free after 27 years. So I think that is when, the Supreme Court set an example. It showed us, like the sages and the seers point to a direction in which you should be walking. And I think both Pakistan and India seem to be taking that kind of a road now. And I think we must not look back no matter what happens.
That's right. Tragedy, in fact, has mirror images on either side. Amna, a quick last word to you. What would you like to say to the people of India who are listening to this, and the people who have perhaps the power and the jurisdiction to send your father back home to you?
Well, first of all, I would like to thank everyone who has risen up to help us. There have been tremendous support from all the Indian people and all the people in the civil society, including Mahesh Bhatt and people in the judiciary, people in the government. And I just want to request to the President of India and the Governor of Rajasthan and anyone else who has the power to let my father go to please release him in the name of humanity. He's almost 80 years old, and all we want right now is for him to come back home and spend his last years in Pakistan. He has had a wonderful life before those 19 years, and we just want to give him a little bit of happiness before it's too late for him. And I know there's bureaucracy that's going to take its time, but I cannot stress enough that my father does not have time. He does not have time. So please, in the name of humanity, I know the Indian people are with us on this. I have not heard from a single Indian person through emails or Facebook or anything saying anything negative. So I just want to request to those who are in authority, who have the power to listen, and just please, in the name of humanity, let my father come back home.
NDTV's cricket app, Android and iPhone, fastest scorecard, special analysis, and much more. Download free. ndtv.com/apps.